Hello, everyone. Now, today it's going to be sort of a bit of a wing it and let's see how we go sort of thing. If you want to do quiet study at the end, that's completely up to you. Or if you just want to all chat together about our experiences, I'm happy to do that as well. And we can do that on Zoom too and have sort of like a bigger Q&A about things that have maybe worked for you or didn't work for you in the past. So I'm not going to wear my mask while I'm presenting. And then once I'm done, I'm going to put it back on. I was explaining before I am immunocompromised. So I have to think about safety for everyone too. So my very quick dyslexia story. So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 16, going on 17. So it was quite a late diagnosis, but I had all of the telltale signs as a child. So, you know, getting put in the slow class, so getting put in the area where you'd get taken out of the classroom and you get put with all these other kids who weren't quick enough for maths or for reading or anything like that, which was traumatizing, I think, in itself, you know, when you're a small child being taken away and put into a separate room. I'm not too sure if they're still doing that, but I have a feeling that it's probably still happening in a couple of different schools. It was my English teacher at University Senior College who actually picked up my dyslexia. Even though I was quite a high achieving student, there was a couple of things that he sort of noticed that went, actually, I think that there's something going on here, and he made the suggestion to go get tested, and I found out that I had mild forms of dyslexia. Reading and writing is not too bad, but maths is definitely really, really bad for me. I have very vivid memories of my dad yelling at me, trying to get the maths equations right, and we could never do it. But as I'm going through my own dyslexia journey, I'm finding out that there's actually quite a lot of different things that happen with your brain with dyslexia that is not just related to academic literacy skills. It's actually quite phenomenal. I went to a conference last year by the Dear Dyslexia Foundation. I can show you their website at the end. They're a really good resource for people who have dyslexia. They've got lots of podcasts and people you can talk to and sponsorship and all of that sort of stuff. And it was really illuminating in that they showed me all of the different ways that dyslexia affects your day-to-day living and life. And maybe even as well, we can extend that to neurodiversity more broadly. So a couple of new statistics that have come out over the past year is that if you're dyslexic, it's likely 60% likely that you also have another form of, you have either ADHD, autism, or you've got another form of maybe dyspraxia or dysglusia. So it's usually, again, quite likely because it's all happening in the frontal cortex of the brain. Yeah? Dyspraxia and so from memory, dysglusia, I think, is where you have a couple of issues with sort of like motor sort of skills. And then dyspraxia, I think, is specifically to do with numbers, but I don't want to say for sure that's what it is. So, yeah. Susie? Dyscalculia, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm about to say, I'm not the expert on all of these things. I'm still quite learning. So, yeah, if I do get anything wrong, please inform me because I want to know. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So, what makes dyslexia great? A couple of things. So we think really big. So there's lots of studies that show that we're able to see big picture data. We can work really well in heavy projects that have a lot of different sort of facets that are going on. This is because our minds allows us to see patterns that nobody else can. And why that is because we actually think in 3 dimensions. So it's not just like a one-way street with our brains. We can picture entire stories and do entire things all in 3D in our brains. And I only recently learned that that's not something that neurotypical people do. I had no idea that people didn't have an inner monologue in their head or didn't have, you know, thought in 3 dimensions and could create entire worlds. And again, that's not every dyslexic, but studies are showing that that is most dyslexics, okay? Because we can see that there is a different way to do things, we tend to question the status quo because we can see that there is a better and more efficient way of doing things as well. We're resilient, and I think we all know why we're resilient is because we have to come up across a lot of challenges in our day-to-day life with everything. We're great communicators and storytellers. And a couple of inventions by dyslexics is things that we can't live without today. So the iPhone, the light bulb, the telephone, the car, the plane, all of the things in the modern world that I think sometimes take for granted. We wouldn't think they are invented by dyslexic people. Now, of course, you know, things like the light bulb and the plane and the car are all invented a long time before they even recognize what dyslexia was and what it does. There's a new book that's just come out about dyslexia. It's part of the Penguin Publishing Group, and I will find the author for you and recommend that you read it. It's not like a heavy text sort of book. It's got a lot of QR scanners and codes in it that you can sort of get for additional information. But the one thing I took away from this book that was actually really interesting is because dyslexics are actually recruited to be spies. How fun is that? How weird is that? So yeah, if you're dyslexic, you're recruited, you know, by a spy organization, central intelligence, because of the way our minds work. We're actually phenomenal secret agents, which I thought was really, really great. I'm like, maybe James Bond is dyslexic. So,
well, like I've always when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a spy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So the flip side of all of this greatness, because I don't want to sit here and tell you everything that's so good about it, because we know that there's lots of things that aren't good about dyslexia. Stress levels are heightened. We all know that stress is a big part of anyone who has neurodiversity, and stress levels are definitely at the forefront for dyslexics. Stressful environments, that's why we get longer times on exams and assignments and that sort of stuff, because we are more affected by stress, because sometimes it does take us longer to do things. 2 out of 3 dyslexics do not feel good about themselves. They've got a lot of self-confidence issues. My theory behind this is because the school system is not set up for anyone who has any form of neurodiversity. In fact, if you go on the Dear Dyslexia website, they actually, all of their stories about people who have lived their lives quite successfully with dyslexia, all of them agree that it wasn't until they got out of the school system that they actually found success, because the school system is not built, you know, for people who have any sort of neurodivergency at all. In fact, I don't even think it's built properly for people who are neurotypical as well. Like, it's just not, it needs a complete overhaul. You're 46% more likely to have attempted suicide if you have dyslexia. 1 in 5 in the justice system have a learning disability or neurodiversity, which is a huge statistic. Reading difficulties are also a risk factor for the development of later mental health problems. We're also more prone to, and this is a new one, I found this out at the conference last year, we're more prone to motion sickness, as well as motor skills can be lacking. So if you go, why am I always dropping stuff all the time? And why am I clumsy and tripping over carpet when there's nothing there, which is my thing, it's actually a dyslexic thing, especially the motion sickness. I have 2 funny stories that are related to my dyslexia. First one being, my grandfather was Italian, and he would take me fishing. And the reason he would take me fishing is because I got really motion, like boat sick, and I would throw up everywhere and I would attract the fishes. So that, and you know, car sickness, can't read, all those sorts of stuff, like can't read on a train. It's actually to do with your dyslexia. My second funny story is, and I don't know about the rest of you, we can maybe discuss in the quiet study time, but my brain tends to shut off between 2:30 and 5:30, and it's really hard for me to concentrate. It takes a lot of mental effort. And I used to work in retail, and I worked at Forever New, and it was late in the afternoon, and we were about to sort of shut up shop, and there was a lady who was trying something on in the change rooms, and I was helping her, and she came out and she had her dress and she had a small little child with her, probably a toddler. And she said, oh, can I grab this? And I said, yeah, that's fine. And I said, and I went like this to point towards the front of the store. And in my brain, I went, I want to tell her, take it to the front of the store, but I also wanted to say, take it to the counter. And instead what came out was, take it to the CUNT of the store. And I literally was like this, and I was like, take it to the CUNT of the store, with her small child there. And in that moment, I could have been like, I'm so sorry, I have dyslexia, and I didn't mean this to happen, but I was like, I'm not even gonna bother. there's no coming back from this. And she just looked at me like, you piece of shit. I just like kept pointing this way, went, I'm sorry, and just go to the front of the store. So lots of fun things happen with dyslexia. Okay, so a couple of things that we're going to address today is we're going to first talk about where to start, how to assess the question, what's the key strategy to that. We're going to talk about reading skills and strategies, how not to become overwhelmed. I'm going to also take you through a couple of note-taking methods, digital apps, things that have made it easier for myself and things that I've recommended to my students to also make it easier when you've got dyslexia, a couple of top tips, and then a quick little video, and Lara and Gavin are also going to share their experiences towards the end too. Some kind of key things to remember is that every single person with neurodiversity is different. What works for some will not work for all. Like I said, I'm not the expert on these things. I'm still learning. And if I say, look, this is a really good technique to try, but it's not working for you after a couple of, weeks or after a month, let it go. That's the best advice that I can give to anyone, is don't try to keep, fitting the square peg into the round hole. It's not going to work. Just try and find something that works for you. And if you find that a particular technique or a particular strategy that you've been adopting has worked for you, and then all of a sudden it stops working for you, there's a reason for that. You just need to find something new and keep moving. Don't try to force yourself, because the brain's just going to go, nope, I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. Okay. So I have an essay question or a task. Where do I start? My key thing is read, read, read. The one consistent mistake that I made in my undergrad, which cost me a couple of essays and a couple of marks and a lot of issues with tutors, is that I would very quickly read the essay question. Then I would sort of get 1 or 2 words wrong because I've read it so quickly. And then I would spend all of my research and all of my drafting progress trying to address this question that wasn't correct. And I had some really nice tutors who would say, Tiana, this is a great essay, but you've actually written the question down wrong, and it's this, or you've interpreted the question differently, and I've gone, crap. So that's the one thing I can say, is write it down, read it, digest it, keep going back and checking that you've got the right question. And also try to remember what the question is trying to get you to do. What exactly does the question want from you? So we've got a really good guide, and I wish that I had known about this guide when I was in undergrad, when it was created, about when a essay question or task is asking you to examine, explain, or discuss something. It wants you to do something specifically, and words and definitions and meanings are really important when you have neurodiversity, and especially when you have dyslexia, because if you don't understand the meaning of the word, you get overwhelmed, you get stressed, and you don't want to deal with it, and then you procrastinate, and then it becomes a whole tumbling act of even worse stuff that happens. So if, for example, an essay question is saying, discuss the difference between the Spanish flu and COVID-19 and the strategies employed in both of those time periods in current day, it's asking you to present various points and consider the different sides. This is usually longer than an explanation, so it's not asking you to explain what the difference is between those two things, but it wants you to present evidence and state which argument is more persuasive. That is what discuss means for an essay question. So here is where we have the guide. And again, Michael can send this through to all of you if you want, which is the assignment directives here. So if I just stop sharing that and start sharing this here. So you can see here that we've got quite a lot of examples of what a single directive is, and then examples of double directives. Now, usually in art, most of your questions are actually double directives, not single directives, which makes it quite stressful and overwhelming. But we have all of these different little boxes here that will tell you this is what we do. If you're asked to define, describe, clarify, it's all here for you. So
Where do we find that?
this is on the Writing Centre website. So it's under our resources tab, but again, Michael can send it to Shona, and then Shona will probably again send it out to everyone. So yeah, this is really, really helpful. Like, I really wish that I had known about this when I was in undergrad. So that's the first thing. Once you've sort of addressed what you need to do, whether it's an essay question or a task or an assignment, the first thing that I recommend to do is to sit down and mind map. Now, I know that quite a lot of people go, I've been told to mind map before, but mind mapping looks different to everyone, right? It's not, you know, drawing the bubble sort of thing. Mind mapping can look like lots of different things to lots of different people. So what I like to do when I'm mind mapping is I like to sort of write down, I get a big sheet of paper. I get these huge desk pads from Officeworks. I'll show you my PhD one, which is really chaotic is the best way to describe it. And I sit down and I go, okay, what do I already know about this? This is before I've even touched any research or done anything. What do I know? What do I not know? Yeah. And then I ask, okay, what are the key things that I think I need to research? Once I've sort of got an idea about where my knowledge is, where's my baseline? What are my deadlines? That's really important. Yeah. I got into this habit and I got into this routine of convincing myself that my deadlines for my assignments were actually the week before that they were due. So I would write it down in my diary that it's the week before. And so I would in my head go, oh shit, it's due on this day. Crap, it's due, I've got to get it done just in case, because I knew that I would procrastinate and I would not do it. And I've got a buffer. I've got a buffer I've got a week to, because I used to go to the writing center as well. I would go to the writing center, I would get it checked off. I would have friends read it. If I misinterpreted the question, which happened many a times, I had a week to actually do something about it. So that's, again, put your deadline on your mind map. And then another thing I would ask myself is, what are the reasonable goals that I can commit to in order to get this finished? Because that's the thing, is that, and I'll talk about peak productivity soon, but you can't be working every single day. It's not going to happen. You can't be working on that one assignment every single day. So you need to look at your schedule and go, I've got this doctor's appointment. I've got, you know, parent duties. I've got these things to do. I've got these assignments to do. And you need to try and find time to schedule it in. Easier said than done, I know. I have like a bullet journal that I say every week. I probably fill out only maybe 2 or 3 days of the 7 days of the week. That's better than nothing, right? That's better than having it all in your head. You need to get it on paper. So there's a couple of different options that I use for mind mapping. Now, Scrivener is a really good one. You can get it across all different types of devices. It's digital mind mapping. I will again send Michael and Shona these slides, and you'll have links to all of these so you can investigate yourself. The great thing about Scrivener is if you just leave it open on your laptop, you get the free trial forever. Just don't close it. I've had mine for like 4 years, so just don't close it. There's also Mindemo. I haven't really played around a lot with this, but the interface looks quite fun. And something new that I've found is actually Padlet. Padlet, I noticed it last night. I went to a session on Padlet, and I really, really liked how it just sort of looks. So this is what Padlet looks like. Oh, there's your face. So this is what Padlet looks like. Now you can like add, this is again the free version. So you can add files, you can add pictures, links, photos, locations, things that you need to do, and you can arrange it all on this sort of like what I like to call big mind map version essentially. So this is an article that I'm working on, and I've put a note to myself saying framework needs to be applied to other authors. So again, I've just discovered this. I can't really talk much about it, but I just like that this is, again, another digital option for you to maybe have, you know, here you can put all of your deadlines. You know what needs to be done. Here you can put all of your assignments. So it's all about organizational techniques. Okay. All right, so this is my ridiculous mind map for my research, for my PhD thesis, where it's just me like writing things, putting sources. Again, mind mapping looks different to everyone. So you just do whatever's comfortable for you. Okay, So very quickly, I want to talk about as well, when you do start reading, once you've done your mind mapping, you've got your head around deadlines and personal commitments and all of those things, the most important thing you can do when you're reading is to set out a goal. Don't just read for the sake of reading, because when I read for the sake of reading, I know I'm procrastinating from actually writing. So when you decide to start researching, you go, okay, what am I actually looking for? What am I doing? And you think, okay, am I looking for something to fit my argument because I have an argument in my head already, or I kind of know a lot about this topic? Or are you just looking for things to fill the gap in the knowledge? Are you looking for contextual articles and books, or are you looking for things that are going to fit your argument? That's 2 questions to ask yourself, right? I don't care how crazy you sound in the morning with your coffee going, what am I doing today? Talk to yourself and just get it out. Sometimes though, not everything is useful. You can't be expected to deep read everything. You just will not have the time. Something really important that my supervisor Han said to me during my master's was, Tiana, you cannot read everything. Research is now being produced at such a high rate that by the time that you've finished your essay, or you've finished your honours, or we've done it all, somebody has brought something that relates directly out to it, but how are you expected to read it? So if you want to know how useful an argument is for you, how useful an article is going to be for you, so whether that's to fit your argument or your context, my thing, I read the abstract, if it has one, I read the intro and the conclusion, and I try to match up, if what they said that they were going to state out in the intro, have they actually addressed that in the conclusion? Have they linked it up there? Because that's a good writer who links it up. But if you can see that there's absolutely no connecting dot there, and you're thinking, but hang on, you said that you were going to do all of this, and now you're concluding on a completely different point, have a quick sort of skim read of what the discussion might be or some of the other key points, and go and you have to make an executive decision. Am I going to read this because I think maybe it has something for me, or am I just going to push it to the side? Those are, again, some strategies that I've found work. So when you're doing critical reading as well, I have this printed out on my desk next to me when I'm having to read something. So I ask, what is the writer trying to say? This again is from the Writing Centre guides too. I've just copied and pasted it, made it look a bit prettier. What perspective or theoretical position is the writer taking? Unfortunately, unless you're doing a Bachelor of Advanced Arts and you're in your 3rd year, you're not actually being taught from 1st year level what research frameworks and methodologies are. In arts, in social sciences, in sciences as well, you're not being taught those things. So if somebody, just say you have a history course that you're doing or an English course, and someone tells you that, I'm working within this particular framework or method, and you go, okay, yeah, whatever, and you skip over it, that's not actually going to help you. It's good to go and have a look and just quickly Google or Wikipedia what exactly that means, because it's very illuminating about what the author is trying to do when they're working in particular research or framework. Because again, you're not taught those things. I got taught it in my 3rd year, and I was so angry at the university because I was like, why wasn't I taught this in my 1st year? Because it would have helped me with reading all these articles. Because again, the way that research is produced, especially when you're in undergrad, is that article that you're reading for your essay is not meant for you. It's just not. It's meant for the 5 people on this planet who actually know what that specific topic or research area is. So the way that academic knowledge is produced is for other academics. It's not for students. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You're not stupid. You're not slow. It's not that you can't understand it. It's because that way the writing is produced is not meant for you yet. If you want to go into research and postgrad, then you need to start upskilling there. But right now, if you're in undergrad, don't be so hard on yourself. It's not meant for you. I wish, again, someone had told me that. Okay, so a couple of other things as well. What evidence do they present to support the argument? Is the writer coming from a biased perspective, if you want to use that term? What qualifications does the writer have in this area? Do you agree with what the writer is suggesting and why? What you could do with this is take each of these questions and create a Word document and put them in little sort of like tables. And every time that you go, oh, I know the answer to that question, quickly write it in or type it in. And then you've got a really good sort of note-taking and filing system where you can look back at your notes and go, actually, this is what this person was arguing. And then I can pull that and incorporate it into my essay. But again, just because it's written, it's a journal article, it's a book, doesn't mean it's good writing. Doesn't mean it's actually understandable. That's the other thing that, again, it's hard to work that out. Okay. So when you're dealing with difficult material, a good thing to do is, again, like I said, skim the material by reading the introduction and conclusion to get an overview of what exactly it is they're trying to do. Try to explain the work in your own words. That's a really hard one. I still really struggle with that, but I find that it's quite a helpful exercise. Discuss the reading as well. If you want to go to your tutor and say, look, I read this and I really have no freaking clue what is going on, I can guarantee you most times the tutor or the course coordinator is actually going to be really excited to talk about that, because they'll go, oh, I know about this. And if it's anything to do with their own work, they'll definitely step in and go, yeah, I definitely want to talk about this, right? So use your support networks where available. I am sort of running a little bit behind time, so I'm just going to go through this a little bit more. Okay, so once you've done all of your reading and you've done your reading strategies, let's talk about note-taking. This is something called the Cornell Method. Has anyone heard about the Cornell Method before? Yeah, I know the Laura and Gavin, I've just been like chewing their ears about the Cornell Method.
Sure.
So I have yet to work out how exactly to do this digitally, but if you want to do it sort of with a pen and paper, this is the best way. So essentially the Cornell Method looks a little bit like this, right? So any Lord of the Rings fans? Michael, couple, Shona, yep. So the Cornell Method is firstly, this can be used for readings, lecture notes, any sort of difficult material that you're working with. So the first thing to do is you use the note-taking column. So where it says Mordor here, government ruled by Sauron, B has a tower, right? People has orcs, has trolls, has all of those things. Here in this note section is where you sort of take down key things that you're hearing that you think, okay, this might actually be valuable. That in itself, again, is quite hard because I have the tendency to think every information is valuable. So I'm just like writing it down and highlighting all of the things. But what you try to have to do is sort of take a step back and go, is this actually valuable information that I need to keep down, right? Haven't really learned how to stop the excessive highlighting yet for myself, so I can't really tell you how to stop that. Then with the cues section is where you can fill out questions and reflections as well. So here we've got who rules Mordor, right? Who lives there? Can you visit? Do you notice that those key sort of cues and questions are matching up with the note section, right? So if you've noticed that something sounds a little bit confusing, or you're just like, wait, this sounds a little bit sort of odd, or I really want to know more about this, you use the cue section to write your own notes to yourself. What does this mean? Should I define this? How does X relate to Y? And those are further sort of, again, notes and cues to yourself to look into later, or if you're not sure about something. Then you use the summary section to essentially summarize everything that's gone on in the reading or in the lecture. And you can, again, use it to just go, okay, so how in 50 to 60 words can I summarize this entire thing? What are the key points that I need to take away from this? So the Cornell Method is probably the best one that I've tried so far, but I'm still trying to figure out how to do this digitally as well. So like how to create this template and put it in a digital sort of template, whether that's Word or Evernote or anything like that. If anyone has any suggestions at the end and you think you know a good way to do it, go for it. So this is the Cornell Method. But the thing with the Cornell Method is that I find that it works best if you've already sort of got an idea about what you want from the reading, right? So again, it harks back to those reading strategies, making sure that you have a baseline of understanding what it is that you're searching for, what it is that you know and you don't know. Here I have a digital note-taking system called Liquid Text. The free version is fine. You don't need to buy the fancy bells and whistles if you want to. I think it's like $30 US, but this is probably the best app that I've used for reading, because not only do they now have it across all different platforms and devices, but what it essentially does is it takes a PDF that you've saved, whether that's through your Drive or Google or iCloud, it uploads it into their platform, and you can actually take bits of that article out into a workspace. And you can draw on it, you can doodle, you can write questions, you can add and type extra notes. So I find that it's really good when you're given those mammoth articles or those mammoth book chapters, and you're like, I feel like everything is really important, and how do I keep this all in one place? Liquid text is probably the best one. Yeah, with liquid text as well, what you can do is you can then take the notes from your workspace. So that's in this blue section that you see sort of highlighted here. You can take the notes from your workspace, and then you can copy and paste them into any other application you want, whether that's Word, Notes from your iPhone. I use OneNote as well because it's free and it's available through the university. You can copy and paste all of your excerpts in there. So then you've also got a sort of a running track sheet of everything that's important for you to review, whether that's for an exam, an essay, or anything else. What's also really good, this is on the desktop one, it's much better on the app. So if you do have a tablet or an iPad, it's easier and better to use it on here. But what it also does is it gives you the little page number that you've taken it from as well. So most of the times the page numbers match up to the PDF. And so when you're citing something, you go, hang on, which page was that? And you can go back and find the page really easily. Okay. So once again, you've done all your notes, you've done your reading strategies, everything, you need to come up with your essay plan. Essay planning is really, really important. This is my template for essay planning. So this is what I would do. I would go introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. Of course, you can have more than 3 paragraphs for an essay. And I would just draft with all of these headings here. Okay, what's my topic sentence going to be? What evidence am I going to use? What questions do I have? How am I going to link this back to the question? Now, this is based on the teal structure, so the teal template that we use at the Writing Centre. I would then, very sneakily, bring this essay plan to my lecturers. So I would go, how does this sound? Is there anything I'm missing? And because you are allowed to do that, you are allowed to bring them essay plans. They can't see your draft, but they can see your essay plans. So I would frankly annoy some lecturers, but I would say, I really want to know, am I on the right track here? Because as much as we can support you at the centre, we can't tell you always 100% if you're on the right track. So it's really important to, I think, utilise your lecturers and tutors and remember why they're there. And hopefully they're nice about it. Most of mine were very, very nice about it, and it opened up, new relationships. So here are my top tips very quickly. Fonts and colour overlays are really important. If you haven't already noticed, New Times Roman is the worst. And so is Arial if you are dyslexic or neurodiverse. Has anyone heard of Open Dyslexic before? So yep, Open Dyslexic is a font that you can download to turn all of your fonts into a readable format for dyslexic people. So here, apart from Times, which I disagree with, Gill Sans, Verdana, Open Dyslexic and Helvetia are the best fonts for those who have dyslexia, because we're able to read the words much more accurately. Fun fact about our minds is, I think, why it's easier for us to see things in contrast. So if you have a black screen or dark mode and it's all white text, is because our brains are hardwired to look at the white space, specific dyslexic people, whereas other people are hardwired to look at the black space. So that's why it's really difficult for us on a white page to make sense sometimes, especially digital, to make sense of what's going on, because our brains are looking at all of the white, they're not looking at the black. That's why it's easier to have things in dark mode. Colour overlays are still a new and upcoming theory about what works best in terms of colour theory. There's still some science out there that's actually saying, I don't think colour theory is a thing. I find that I work better and remember better, with different colours, and everyone is completely different. I don't know if you can do this anymore, but I used to get cellophane, and I used to laminate cellophane, and I would just like put it like on, you know, like, yeah, I just put it on top of text to help me read. And so that's one thing you can do. Voice recording. So nobody likes the sound of their own voice. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate hearing myself speak. But when you have an idea that pops in your head, or you really need to remember something, you know, your best thoughts are in the shower type thing, use the voice recording memos. They're really, really good because, again, dyslexia, we have a problem with memory, with short-term memory. So if you have an idea, or if you know that this is perfect, this article that I'm reading is amazing, put a voice recording of it, summarizing it in your own words, and then listen back to it. Because when exam time comes around, you've got a whole semester's worth of you just talking and jabbering. Yes, I know that, again, it sounds terrible when it's your own voice, but it is helpful because you tend to listen more acutely when it's your own voice, right? Claro Speak is also available to you. So that's a speech to text thing. So if you have an access plan, Disability Support Services can provide you with a USB, and they can give you Claro Speak for free as well. So we've got access to all of that. Okay. File systems are really critical. I always learn this the hard way, and I'm still learning this the hard way with my PhD, is that I would hit like paragraph 3, and I would remember I have a really good article for where this is, and then I can't find it because I've saved it under some random number in my Google Drive, and then Google Drive can't find it, or my Drive can't find it. So it's always good to make sure your filing systems are up to date. That's still work. People think that if you're not writing or reading that you're not being productive, but sometimes actually just sitting down for a day and being like, I'm going to organize my entire drive, and I'm going to date everything, and I'm going to file everything. That is work. It's integral, important work for you to have good filing systems. Zotero is amazing. EndNote is terrible. Zotero has a Chrome plugin. So you can actually take all of the PDFs that you're finding through the Adelaide Library database, and then it saves the PDF for you, and it saves all the information for you. It does all of the work for you. And you can add notes, and you can add tags to it. Zotero is the best filing system if you kind of can't be bothered sorting out your drive or doing anything like that. Use Zotero, and then you can go through that a couple every, you know, once a week or once a fortnight, go through it and make sure that everything's named and dated, and then it does the citations for you. So I'll show you all Zotero maybe after. And again, like I've shown you already, Padlet is also another really great organizing and filing system too, because you can have specific Padlets for specific assignments and tasks, and then upload all of the files that you're going to use there and have that there already. Okay, peak productivity. You cannot study nor work from 9 to 5. Sorry, Dolly Parton. You can't do it. You just can't. My peak productivity hours are between 9:30 and 11:30. That's when I'm really productive. And then between maybe like 11:30 and 1:30, I can get a couple of things done. By 2:30, I'm out for the count. I can't do it. I'm just like, I'm struggling. Like basic stuff I can sort of force myself to do. And then I get this really weird second wind at like 7:30 at night until like 9:30 at night. So work with your peak productivity. The 9 to 5 working day is based on labor, on physical labor. It's not based on mental labor. I often tell my husband, who's a plumber, who I love very dearly, that even though I'm at home all day sitting at a desk, the brain power that I'm enacting by doing study is actually the equivalent of 3 to 4 hours of physical manual labor. That's how much strain and pressure gets put on your body when you're doing this sort of work. It's hard. Studying is hard, especially when you're dyslexic or you're neurodiverse and you've got that added mental load and added barriers that you have to go through. I really like to use life spaces. I'll show you what it looks like. It's like a virtual sort of study space. You can have really pretty backgrounds. You can have Spotify linked to it. And the great thing about it as well is that you can also have a Pomodoro timer. Pomodoro timers are your new best friend, right? Because I, again, will go on my phone after about 15 minutes of working and be like, oh, break time. And then I'm on my phone scrolling for 45 minutes. So that's not good, right? Pomodoro timer means that you do 20 to 25 minutes of work. You set a timer and then you have a 5-minute break. And you do that 4 to 5 to 6 times and you've done your 2 hours of peak productivity. It's better for you to work in that way than to sit down and tell yourself, I'm going to work for 3 hours straight. No, you're not. It's not going to happen. You're not going to do that. But if you work for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break and then work for another 20 minutes, that is much more reasonable and manageable. Yeah, like I said, set reasonable goals that you can achieve. If you turn around and you say, I'm going to finish this essay today, then I'm going to start prepping for the next one, and then I'm going to take the dog for a walk, and then I'm going to go to the shops, that's not going to happen. We make these promises to ourselves, but again, that's not going to happen. So if you can just get, let's say you write 4 things on your to-do list that are related to study, and you can get 2 of those things done and done well as well, not like half-assed, you've done them well, that is good. That is productivity, right? So you don't have to be productive all the time. You just have to get a couple of things done. Don't underestimate your cognitive load every day, especially when there's mental health stuff going on. Don't underestimate what you're feeling and how you're experiencing it. Okay, so this is life spaces. So this is actually, this moves. You can't really tell, but yeah, this moves. So this is my room where it's on like a sort of loop of a castle, I think in Transylvania somewhere. And I have a really massive screen at home and I put that on while I'm reading and I create a really safe space for myself. I have my Pomodoro timer going. I have my tasks and my list of things to do. I really love this website. It's great for students. And again, it's free. You don't need like subscriptions or anything. I think you just need to sign up. There's nothing else really to it. So I really like live spaces. Okay, I think we've got just enough time to maybe watch a little bit of this video and then we're going to go over to Lara and Gavin. So are we all okay to sort of go into the study time after 11? Yeah? Okay, so Shona, you can let me know if you can hear this on the screen, but I've made sure to press share sound. So I thought we'd all enjoy this video.
You just need to focus.
Oh, I'm a bit dyslexic too.
You're slow, aren't you?
Can you spell dyslexia?
Lexia.
You must hate reading.
Obviously I do.
See, I'm the complete opposite. I love reading.
It takes me ages and ages to read books.
I'm 21, I've read 1 book in my life.
So I didn't read till I was 12 and then I read a book a day.
It's a glitch, because when I read, I sometimes read and I follow the sentence down and then I go back up.
I would end up reading the exact same line over and over.
The words when I used to read used to move around and just get crazy.
I get extra letters and letters going.
Mixed rounds,
yeah, they just, you know, they're just funky and sometimes like, hey, I'm going to go over here, and it's like, you're not meant to go there.
Have you tried spell check?
Yes.
I was literally about to say spell check is my best friend.
Spell check is useless because if you can't spell the word in the first place, you don't know whether it's correcting it to be right or wrong.
After you do like an essay or something like that, you can just press one button and you'd be like, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Social media is the worst. I have to get 3 people to check anything I post just in case I put something really rude.
I hate it at the same time. Did you mean this? You condescending little prick. But yes, please, thank you, thank you.
You just need to focus.
So I've had that all my life. You need to focus, you need to focus. You're not focusing, you need to try harder.
My parents, my teachers thought I had attitude problems.
I'm lazy.
To people.
According to my mum, I'm lazy.
Lazy gang.
And they just thought I was rude, as opposed to thinking that I couldn't engage with what was happening.
Put post-it notes around your room, like do a mind map, use different colours. That never used to work for me.
Because everyone is different. Everyone should, in my opinion, learn in a different way or at a different speed.
I enjoy going at my own pace. You know, I'm not lazy. I just like going things at my own pace. You know?
To all of those people, yeah.
Oh, It's not fair that you get longer on exams.
I would swap it in a heartbeat though to not have dyslexia.
I've had people say, well, you shouldn't get extra time in exams because you don't have extra time in life.
You could give me the whole night and I'm still not going to finish it.
I basically wouldn't have any qualifications if I didn't have extra time.
If you've got a additional educational need and you read a bit slower, you need to be given that time to process.
Everything that was going on in my head, I wanted to put it on the piece of paper, but I couldn't read fast enough and I just couldn't write fast enough. And it just used to make me panic and I used to have the worst anxiety attacks.
Oh, I'm a bit dyslexic too.
A bit, a smidge.
Oh, I'm dyslexic too. I think it's kind of condescending sometimes, because I think sometimes people are actually faking it.
They don't get what what dyslexia means, so it's kind of their own ignorance.
It's just the ambiguity of it. It's like, if you're bad at reading or you don't like reading or say you've got ADHD or I think there's loads of things that you could mistake for it.
The people who are actually genuinely dyslexic, it's incredibly frustrating and
Really patronising.
Really patronising.
I've had people say this to me and I kind of feel like they're trying to belittle
Who I am.
Yeah.
Any true dyslexic wouldn't go, I'm a dyslexic as well. You try and hide it the best you can.
Yeah.
As soon as someone finds you out, you just go, yeah, I am. And you instantly become very aggressive towards them.
Yeah,
and
what?
what? Come on then. It's like,
Okay, you're just a bit thick.
Cold world.
Stupid, bit of an idiot.
Slow, I've been called an idiot, I've been called weird.
Waste of space.
Well, maybe dyslexic people are stupid, but by someone else's standard.
Yes, it's important to talk about diversity as race and gender and all these different things, but there's also diversity in how people learn.
If you're trying to take a super fast test and you're dyslexic, then yeah, you're fucking stupid.
You'll never amount to anything.
So I've just graduated in nutritional science.
I'm doing a master's in molecular biophysics.
I'm an officer in the Merchant Navy.
And they were all like, yeah, she's not going to do anything, she's got loads of negativity, she's not trying.
It was almost something that I said to myself in sixth form as well, and I think that's the worst thing. I started believing it.
It's about perseverance.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Key motto in life.
Don't worry, you'll grow out of it.
You will learn to cope. Is probably like...
I didn't grow out of it. I would say I grew into it.
You know, it's taken me so long and all my life of being crap. And then now I'm like, actually, I have a reason and I know why it is. And this is my reason. I'm not being stupid.
I probably wouldn't have learned that I was really creative and that I could do something with that.
I wouldn't be me and I wouldn't have some of the amazing ideas that I have without thinking in the way that I think.
Do the stand up and say, I'm Declan and I'm dyslexic.
I'm Priya and I'm dyslexic.
Yeah, that's
this so they can hear me. So yeah, I think that video to me was really funny because all of those things I've heard growing up, I'm sure that you've all heard those things growing up as well. And I watched, just to end it before I hand it over to Gavin and Lara, I watched a video this morning about how when we think of the idea of self-care, right? We think of the idea of self-care as being oh, I'm just gonna sit and do nothing today, which, is an aspect of self-care. But I think when we're talking about self-care, sometimes it's about doing those really hard things. It's going through your filing systems, it's making these plans, it's sitting there and having a routine for yourself. That's also an aspect of self-care, is getting your life sort of in order or trying your best to, even if it doesn't work out sometimes. And it's okay to, again, understand how much cognitive pressure and the cognitive load that you're under every single day. And know that there are so many, there's quite a lot of dyslexic people in this world. Some people don't even know it. There's quite a lot of neurodiverse people in this world. And I think it's really good to find people that you can talk to about it, because since finally sort of, meeting more and more students that have dyslexia, I'm finally able to talk to people about it and go, wow, do you remember this? Wow, do you remember feeling like this or going through this? And they just got sort of having this sigh of relief, oh yeah, me too. And it's really, I think it's really nice to have some, some camaraderie with each other, because it is something that only other dyslexic or neurodiverse people will understand what you're going through. And, if you're having a bad day, because sometimes it is linked back to, what's happening in the frontal lobe of your brain.